I'm Lea Lane, an award-winning travel writer and author of Places I Remember, Tales, Truths, Delights from 100 Countries. On this podcast, we share conversations with travelers about fascinating destinations and memorable experiences around the world. Are you a train lover? Then this episode of Places I Remember is not to miss. We'll find out about popular routes, insider info and tips, and then focus on probably the world's ultimate train trip. We're going to talk to Frank Marini, President and CEO of Railbookers Group, and Gareth Jones, Director of Product Development, behind their Around the World trip. It's fun to talk about this, even if we never take this ride. So welcome, Frank and Gareth, to Places I Remember.
Thank you, Leah. Great to be here.
Thank you, Leah.
Let's start by talking about Railbookers, your company. What does it offer travelers who want to travel by train?
So at Railbookers, we offer train travel worldwide. We go anywhere, any place for any length of time. If the train goes there, so do we. So we offer train travel, hotel sightseeing, and more. And everything from luxury trains to national train systems all over the world.
So you can be a budget traveler and use Railbookers as well, or is it luxury focused?
Both ends of the spectrum. So whatever anyone's looking for.
I read that you're the largest selection of carefully crafted independent rail vacations there is.
That's correct.
You get knowledge from the experts. So if you come to say, I want to go somewhere, you have someone helping you create your trip, your custom trip?
That's correct. The one thing with train travel is the infrastructure in trains is already there all over the world, but most people don't know where the trains go, which way they go, what's the best route, how to get there, especially multi-country or connecting, make that easy for our customers. So if they're looking
What do you do, for example? How would you make it more simple?
Sure. We'll know the best routes and the best way. So let's say someone's looking to go to Switzerland and Italy. We'll guide them to say, well, do you want to go over the mountain, around the mountain, through the mountain, where best to sit on the train, or if you don't want to go backwards for 7 hours, or where to sit to see the best sights, things like that you wouldn't think of. That's what we do. I like to say we speak train.
Yeah. Anyone who loves a train knows what that means. I mean, it is daunting when you think about it to try to not miss the train. That's the first thing. Well, this is very helpful. You also do hotels and sightseeing and transfers.
With all of our products, and everything can be customized. So wherever, again, our customers are traveling to, we'll know based on their budget or what they're looking for, from what level of hotel they'd like to stay at, as far as transfers from the station to the hotel, sightseeing activities, whether that's more culinary or more cultural that they'd like to do. We can incorporate any and all that in any of the cities that we go to.
What about cruises? Do you tie that in as well?
Great question. We don't do cruises per se. We do have one rail and sail product, we call it, in Alaska and the Canadian Rockies. But in general, we don't do cruises, but we do a lot of pre and post cruises and pre and post river cruising, where someone's doing a river cruise, let's say in Europe, and they'll finish maybe in Basel, Switzerland. We don't do that portion, but then they'll call us to say, hey, I'm finishing in Basel. I'd love to, what can I do next? And go down to maybe St. Moritz for a few days, or go down to Lake Como for a few days. So we handle that portion of their vacation.
Sounds great. What do each of you think makes train travel so special? How would you define that?
So I'll take this one, Frank. For me, it's part of the vacation, if you'd say. Boarding the train between sort of Venice and Florence, for example, it's an hour and 45 minutes. It's amazing scenery. You could take a bottle of wine on board. You could take some snacks on board. Just enjoy yourself. It's relaxing. A sociable time as well. Get to meet other passengers, other travelers on board. You haven't got to worry about the check-in procedure as you would at an airport.
From my perspective, too, to add what Gareth is saying, the journey really begins when you get on board. If you think about air travel versus rail travel, air travel is a point to point, and the sky looks the same and clouds look the same no matter where you are. But when you get on the train, your journey now begins. And the things you can see, the things I find that make it special, you typically can't see in many cases by car. So you're seeing things, whether it's wildlife, scenery, that just bring a destination alive. So
I love looking at the houses along the tracks. You peek in as you go past all the lives, and you think of who lives there and all this sort of thing. It's very good for the imagination. Yeah. What are some of the most popular routes that you offer?
Switzerland has a wealth of scenic train journeys, of course. Something like our Best of Switzerland itinerary, which is 9 nights traveling around Switzerland. You've got the famous Bernina and Glacier Express, the famous red trains, which are breathtaking scenery. They really are. But some of the mountain excursions as well, going up to the top of the Jungfrau, the highest train station in Europe, where you can see as far as France and Germany on a clear day. Mount Titlis with its revolving cable car going to the top as well. Ireland's really popular for us as well at the moment. I think customers are really surprised and amazed at how easy it is to get from the city centre to city centre. Dublin, Cork, Killarney, and Galway. You know, these sort of amazing destinations that have so much heritage for guys coming over from the US, but the trains are so convenient and so easy as well.
Are there other special train trips that travelers might not know about? I could use a pun and say sleepers, but one each maybe that I've been on the Switzerland one. It's magnificent, and along the coast of Norway. I mean, there's these gorgeous
That's
something
right.
that maybe we wouldn't know that you'd say, yeah, that's one of my favorites.
The scenic train that goes down the Ligurian coast from Genoa down to La Spezia as well, through the Cinque Terre. I mean, it's literally on the cliffside, the cliff edge. You know, it's beautiful scenery. It really is. And we could also make sure that clients stay in the Cinque Terre itself as well, so experience the train journey up and down across as well. One of my personal favourites is coming from Paris to the south of France. So it's very kind of high speed TGV down to Marseille, but then the final sort of hour, an hour and a half journey from Marseille across to Nice and Cannes and even across to Italy there, you're following the coastline across. It's beautiful. It really is. The scenery is gorgeous. Switzerland, again, it's famous, the Glacier and Bernina Express, but not many people know about the Golden Pass line, which goes from Montreux up to Interlaken as well. It's got some amazing new luxury seats on board, the Prestige class. But also, at one point during each day, it runs the Belle Epoque carriage, which is some very old vintage style carriage as well. So it's kind of the high end luxury, but also the more vintage side of things as well.
I went on a little part of the Orient Express from just as a tourist, on a press trip from London to the coast.
The British Pullman, that would have been. Absolutely, yeah, down to Folkestone. Yeah, I mean, again, the beautiful British countryside, and you get a nice high tea on board, etc. It's a lovely way of travelling. Yeah, a good speed as well. It's not.
You weren't going anywhere. It was your journey.
That's it. You're enjoying the journey. You're on the train to enjoy it.
Just for the journey. It was a few hours, but it was delightful. It was one of those things that anybody can do if they like trains.
That's right. No one's in a rush. You're just enjoying the ride and enjoying the scenery as you go. That's it.
So let me ask you about green travel. That's obviously a big consideration today. Why are trains considered green travel?
Well, traveling by train is obviously one of the most sustainable ways to travel outside of walking or bicycle tours. It is one of the most sustainable ways to travel in terms of emissions, obviously more and more popular and important. The biggest thing for our type of customers and with green travel is a combination of not only green, but convenient. One of the things that customers are looking for is it's city center to city center travel too. So you're not, let's say, flying from one city or one location, a country to another city, and then having to then transfer into the city. It's a straight shot in most cases, whether you're in London to Paris or into Italy. So it is getting more and more important for everyone as a way to travel. Most of our customers also don't like the hassle of having to try to drive in another country or where am I going to park and things like that. So that almost adds to it as well.
We talked about trains on episode 61 and we got some tips. How about a few handy tips from you guys? Just a couple.
Sure.
Train trip tips.
Train trip tips. That's a tricky one, isn't it? One big one for me, it's get to the station early. Make sure you leave plenty of time to get to the station. Stations across Europe, you've got to find your platform, of course, but they've got plenty of places to pick up some lunch and some snacks to take on board as well. So go to the station nice and early. Don't rush it.
What is nice and early? Half an hour?
I'd say I'd get good half an hour before departure. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. There are a few places like London, for example, come on the Eurostar where you have to check in with your passports, etc. But mainland Europe, again, that's one of the great things about traveling by train is you don't have to worry about passports or anything, Yeah.
And I think I would say too, for train trip tips, because that journey starts when you get on board and it's again on the train, you can get up, walk around. It's not like a plane or just point to point transportation. So whether, think about bringing a book, an iPad, what you want to listen to, Gareth mentioned at the station, picking up a snack or bottle of wine. It is your whole journey, maybe a journal to take notes as you're seeing. It's much more than just point to point transportation. It is the journey. Sometimes people forget that. The other thing I would say too is depending on the length of the journey, bringing a plug-in and adapter so you can charge your phone, your iPad, things like that.
You mentioned earlier about sitting backwards. That's not for everyone. Is there a way to make sure you don't do that when you book?
So we'll know that based on the train, based on the route, based on the train configuration to know. And we'll ask that questions to our guests because we'll know where you'd want to sit on the train based on the sights you'd see. And also if you don't want to sit backwards for 8 hours, we have that in mind. And we go over that with our customers when they book or they're planning their journey.
I would also say, obviously, get a window seat, but that's silly, right?
You're right.
I think one important thing we should put there as a tip as well is book early. Book early. There's limited space on those trains, so best to get in there to put those holidays early to get the best choice of seats, you know?
Now, in your company, you can book 2 years ahead, I read. Is that correct?
That's right.
That's really early. Is that
That's really early.
Yeah.
Yes, it's safe.
Yeah. Well, you know, as Leah, we see a lot of people that do book that early, and it tends to be in conjunction with a river cruise. So they'll book their cruise early, so they'll have their cabin set, but then they're like, okay, I want to get my train set for the extension. So that a lot of that's driven on the pre and post cruise side as well, too.
How many of your trains are ultra fast trains? I guess it depends where you are in the world, but what percentage of trains are now high speed?
Great question. I'd say coming into mainland Europe, 70 to 80% are high speed. Now, yeah, there's still the smaller regional lines. We mentioned the Ligurian coast, for example. The UK has its struggles, but again, some beautiful scenery along the way, but I wouldn't consider it high speed as comparison to Italy and France, for example. 70 to 80% at the moment, but it's just increasing as well.
How
And of
high
course,
speed are we talking?
Oh, over 200 kilometers an hour. Absolutely. At the moment, I think it's Italy who hold the record.
I went to Shanghai and I was 400 kilometers.
Yeah, well, forgive me. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. China holds the record, I think. But
do you go as far as the Far East?
at the moment, we do a little bit in Vietnam. We're currently working on China at the moment, just as it comes back into the market. Yeah.
That's something else when you're on those trains. You tilt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're literally hovering over the track rather than being on the track. That's right.
Well, let's talk about maybe the dreamiest train trip I've ever heard about. It's a once-in-a-lifetime journey for a few lucky travelers, but it's lots of fun for all of us to hear about. So, Gareth, you're in charge of this. Could you tell us about your around the world by luxury train journey of this season?
Okay, you ready? Strap in, okay?
Okay.
We're starting in Vancouver with the Rocky Mountaineer, Journey Through the Clouds. So you get to see the amazing Rockies.
How long is it in total?
Yes, of course, 59 days in total, 7 luxury trains. I've lost numbers on my fingers in terms of the actual destinations in there.
At least 20.
At least 20, absolutely, and 5 continents.
Oh, wow. And you go to World Heritage sites, iconic cities. You just go for broke on it. I shouldn't say broke because it's expensive.
It's once in a lifetime, as you said. That's right. Yeah, there's some amazing experiences kind of along with the trains as well. So private tours of the Verona Arena, for example, of course, a fantastic evening at the Moulin Rouge, private exclusive experiences in the Colosseum and Vatican in Rome, private game drives of 2 game drives in South Africa as well.
Let's go back to Vancouver. I got in your way there, but you start with the Rocky Mountaineer. I have been
Rocky Mountaineer. It's amazing scenery, of course, but the service on board is award-winning as well. The joys of staying in the Fairmont hotels in Banff and Lake Louise, of course, as well, to get that true luxury experience. Over to Scotland for the Royal Scotsman Western Scenic.
I loved it. You go to
it's amazing.
And
it really is. That's right. This one explores the rough west coast of Scotland, Mallaig, for example, out there. Fly down to Rome, and from Rome, we're going to jump on the very brand new and exciting La Dolce Vita Orient Express train, which is the Venice and Portofino route as well. Get an amazing experience in Venice, where you have a private dinner in an ancient palazzo as well. Cross over to Verona, we take the northbound Venice Simplon Orient Express up to Paris, as mentioned there. We get an evening at the Moulin Rouge and a private tour of the Louvre Gallery, of course. From Venice, it's the VSOE again, but this time crossing Europe to Istanbul. That's 3 nights on board the train, but you also overnight in Bucharest and Budapest as well. So 2 amazing hotel experiences in those 2 cities. Istanbul, of course, explore Istanbul, have private tours across the board there. But then fly from Istanbul to Delhi for the Maharaja Express, which I've got to say is my personal favourite out of the trains.
Tell us about it.
It's just breathtaking. The food on board is true Indian cuisine. It really is award-winning Indian cuisine. But every day the train stops, you get just an off-board experience that's otherworldly to see the Raj of Jaipur's home effectively. You explore his home. He's got photos there of King Charles now. He was at the wedding, etc. The red carpet is rolled out everywhere you go. You get an amazing early morning experience. The Taj Mahal, it's just...
I'm glad you said early morning because I have
you
been there.
guys there. Yeah.
Afternoon, you don't want to go. You really need to get early.
You avoid those crowds. You avoid those crowds. Absolutely. You visit Varanasi to have a private boat tour of the Ganges as well. Down to South Africa next.
Now, you say you fly. What airlines, and I assume business at least?
It should be business. We're not including the flights because we appreciate that everyone has their own different affiliations with airlines, etc. Okay. So we leave that up to clients to take care of the flights for themselves. But we pick them up, of course, from the airport, take care of them, everything whilst they're on land. South Africa, we've got a private game drive, the Pilensberg game drive, just outside Johannesburg. Then they're on board Rovos Rail, which I was lucky enough to take last year. 3 nights going up to Victoria Falls. On board there, they get an amazing game drive as well. I was lucky enough to see 4 of the big 5 just on that one game drive alone. And again, the service on that train is spectacular. It really is.
You obviously have a private
area. You have a private cabin. And the great thing about Rovos Rail is on board that train, all the cabins are en suite as well. It's all handmade, effectively. It's amazing craftsmanship, but shower, toilet facilities, all private to your cabin as well. From Cape Town, where you eventually end up after a flight down from Victoria Falls, which we have got covered, fly over to Singapore for your final journey on board the Eastern Oriental Express, the Wild Malaysia, which... They currently run 2 routes, but they're changing to one. Wild Malaysia, you go into the jungles of Malaysia. You get opportunity to see some tigers at a tiger reserve there.
Tigers and lions on this.
The wildlife you see off these trains is fantastic. It's not just life on the tracks. Yeah, so that's it. 59 nights in total.
Well, are you filled up?
That's it. I think so. All right. And again, if clients wish, you can break it down into smaller combinations as well.
If someone wanted to just go on part of it, that's okay.
Absolutely, yeah. We have all the trains individually running as well. One of the most popular combinations we have is that Venice to Paris, Paris to Istanbul combo, which is a truly unique and luxurious experience.
Dreamy, once in a lifetime. Well, the name of the podcast is Places I Remember. So would you please each share a personal memory of your train travels? I think you probably had some of the best anywhere. Who wants to go first? Frank?
There's been so many of them, and I've been very lucky. Last year, my wife and I got a chance to do the Canadian from Vancouver right to Toronto. And that, a 4-night, 4-day trip on the train. And we were lucky enough to go into prestige class. But the thing that really surprised us both, and we've been on a number of different trains, the amount of wildlife we saw along the way. And
what did you see? I'm curious.
We saw everything from buffalo, bald eagles, wild goats. I mean, all along the way, the amount of wildlife, and then the terrain completely different. So coming out of Vancouver to the mountains of the Rockies, to the plains of Saskatchewan, to coming into Ontario and the beautiful forests coming through and the deer, we were just blown away how beautiful. And there's just something very special on, we're early morning risers having coffee in the observation car while seeing all the wildlife with the sunrise. Oddly enough, it went by very fast.
Did you stay at some of those fabulous lodges that were built so long ago?
I have in the past. On both ends, we stayed in the Fairmont. Unbelievable.
Nice to hear. Closer to home for some listeners. It sounds great. What about you, Gareth?
I think I would be in trouble if I didn't say the Bernina Express in Switzerland. So 16 years ago, it's the train journey that I met my wife on board. It's got a special place in my heart. I can't say it's an experience that everyone's going to have on the train. So she'd ordered a coffee and she was sat over for me, but then she'd realized she didn't have any money to pay for the coffee. So I stepped in and bought her a coffee. But there we go. So we enjoyed coming over the Landwasser Viaduct. Will always have a place in my heart.
Not everyone could do that. That's
it's
another reason to go on a train. You're with people for a long time. You get to talk to them.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds delicious, delightful, and enlightening. It's fun to talk trains, whether our listeners are train buffs or never took a train trip. It was fascinating to hear about the options available nowadays. I know I'm ready to go all aboard somewhere in the world, especially with the help of Railbookers. So thank you, Frank Marini and Gareth Jones, for sharing with us.
Thank you, Leah. Really appreciate it.
It's been great fun.
Thanks for listening to our award-winning podcast. We've recorded over 100 episodes of Places I Remember, so follow us on any podcast app. And new monthly episodes are also on YouTube, with gorgeous video. My book, Places I Remember, is available in print and Kindle, and I read the audio version. Follow my travel writing at Forbes.com. Contact me at the links in the show notes or on my website, placesiremember, lealane.com, and keep making your own travel memories.